The Lake of Ill Omen. Surprisingly picturesque for a man-made lake. Well, dragon-made to be more accurate. There's actually a surprising amount of history behind these waters, or should I say under them. Just kidding. There's no sharks in the Lake of Ill Omen. No boats either. I've just always wanted to do that. Here's the Lake of Ill Omen. This cozy spot just off of Fiona V has everything you could want. Sun, sand, and a drowned city that's still inhabited by its undead residents. There's also fishing, if you're into that. But maybe you're not here for the fishing, or sand, or Nub's black granite. Maybe, just maybe, you're wondering about the ruins jutting out of the lake. Well then, pull up a crumbling piece of Ykesar legacy and make yourself comfortable for the history of Veksar. It all began with a singular event that occurred on, by the Ykesar tracking of time, year 406 after Green Mist. The book Captain of the Sea reads, during the infamous battle at Timorous Deep, Captain Visk Irontail is defeated, as well as most of the Sebelian navy. A horde of dragons descended upon them. The navy was vastly outnumbered, so was the end of the great Captain Irontail. Long live his spirit. It was this attack, instigated by the dragon Trakenon, that pulled the dragons of the Ring of Scale into war with the Sebelian Empire. Trakenon was a grand blue dragon that was favored by his goddess Vishen, and blessed, or perhaps cursed, with foresight. He watched the Ykesar with great interest, still wary of the accomplishments of the Sisar that had come before them. He believed the Ykesar were a great threat to dragonkind and wanted to attack them to halt their impressive progress. But the Ring of Scale voted him down in favor of more subtle tactics that would destroy the Sebelian Empire from within. Trakenon could not accept this answer. No one but Trakenon himself knows why he took a flight of dragons to attack the Ykesar naval fleet against the wishes of the Ring of Scale. From the few cryptic remarks the dragon has given on the subject, it seems like he was trying to prevent some greater wrong from occurring, going against his own foresight to do so. Perhaps the fate he ultimately suffered was punishment for going against his own visions. The dragons called up a squall at sea and sent the entire Ykesar navy, along with Emperor Ryle Sathir, to the bottom of the Timorous Deep. Little wonder why there's an entire island full of their skeletons. This one dances. This attack surprised Jaladar, the leader of the Ring of Scale, as much as the Ykesar, given that he hadn't approved of any plans to attack them. Regardless of his desires, the Ykesar Emperor had been killed in the attack, and they were out for blood. Thus the fight between the land lizards and the sky lizards began. During the war, patrolling dragons noticed one place in particular. The dome city of Veksar was incredibly popular with the Ykesar. They came to find that the Kailong Ykesar tribe had found a magical spring that could heal all injury and sickness, no matter how grievous. An entire city had been built around these miraculous waters, and a dome constructed above it to protect it from dragon attack. Upon hearing this report, Trakenon wanted to act instantly. Unfortunately, his rebellious naval attack didn't exactly make him the most popular dragon in the room, and he couldn't raise support for the assault. Luckily for Trakenon, he found an ally in the dragon Garudon, a slightly more popular dragon who supported the attack and was able to convince others to join the cause. You can't talk about Veksar without talking about Garudon. He's the dragon that made it happen. With the flight at his side, Garudon led the attack on Veksar. The dragons split into two teams. Some clawed at the pillars and walls that supported the dome, working to collapse it and trap the Ykesar inside, while others called upon the waters to flood the valley, planning to dilute the spring and drown the inhabitants in one fatal blow. The plan worked, and dragons fled from under the dome as the pillars began to give way, all save for one. Garudon himself had been caught in a snare and was still fighting the city guards when the dome fell. He was trapped and the water was beginning to flood in. Even with no chance of escape, he continued to fight the Veksar until, finally, a fatal blow was landed on the dragon. With his last breath, he scorched the top of the dome with his flames, then fell from the air, crashing into the theater below. Garudon died as the city was engulfed by the rising waters, and the magical properties of the spring were forever lost. He dealt the Veksar a significant blow, but at the cost of his own life. Trapped and with the waters rising, the citizens of Veksar turned to the greatest of arts, necromancy. Knowing they were going to die, the Veksar set up a constant surge of necromancy to run through Veksar and keep themselves animated through death. However, they realized that this surge would also bring back a certain unwanted dragon. In order to prevent this, they painted mystic markings on the theater where he fell to stifle the flow of necromantic energy to Garudon. They also ground up some of his bones for their magic, just to add insult to injury. Then they died, raised, and haunt their sunken city to this day. With all the necromantic energy running through Veksar, it isn't surprising that Garudon's spirit can be found lingering in a corner, hungry to reunite with his body. Talking with his ghost, he will attempt to tug at your heartstrings by saying that the Veksar have been torturing him for generations. He begs for you to collect some of his bones so that he'll have enough power to reunite with his body and depart to the next world. If you're dumb enough to believe this dead dragon and bring him his bones, he will possess his body in the theater, and rather than be put to rest as he said he would, he will happily attack anyone that comes within reach. And you would deserve it, because honestly, when has a dead dragon not been a vengeful bastard? Those who would like to see a fairly well-preserved Veksar city should take a dive down to Veksar. It may not be living history, but it's somewhat close. There's also tiny cursed hands down here, and that makes the trip more than worth it. As an interesting side note, here's what the maps of Mirist have to say about the Lake of Omen. Legend has it that any Veksar that goes swimming in the waters will be plagued by horrible nightmares about their death, which would occur soon afterwards, and their body would rise to wander as an aimless corpse. Perhaps this is the effect of the diluted healing waters that were once able to mend wounds and even extend lifespans. Though this legend is so old, the Veksar themselves don't pay it much mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.